A very good afternoon, all my dear accountancy students, and welcome to the lecture of Advanced Accounting and Auditing Paper 2, Semester 3, SYBCom. I, Professor Shaurya Shah, warmly welcome all of you to my lecture. Dear students, in the last lecture, we had a rapid revision of liquidation chapter and we solved two short sums also regarding the same. Fine. Today also we'll be continuing with the VNSGU 2018 long sum, right, which will cover the remaining part of the chapter, whatever we have done till now, right. So the question you are already having with you will be starting as usual with the discussion of the question, then we'll be starting to solve the question, fine. So what is the question all about, students? Fine, you are having in front of you. So it is your again VNSGU 2018. Some of the few different points in the sum, rest all will remain the same. Fine. So we'll first start with the liability side, what is given in the question, and then we'll start to solve it. On the liability side, you are having the 20,000 equity shares of 10 each, 7.5 paid up, amount is 1,50,000. Fine. You have a clear image of the question in front of you, which I have already sent in Google Classroom. You can see in it. Fine. 20,000 is the equity shares of 10 each, which is 7.5 paid up, so amount is 1,50,000. 60,000 equity shares of 10 each, right? 6 rupees is paid up, 360. Here, take into consideration, students, the face value of both the shares is equal, right? So keep in mind that thing while you are solving the sum. So that will be helpful to you when you find the capital deficiency. 20,000 10% cumulative preference shares of 10 each, fully paid up, 2 lakh rupees, right? Reserves and surplus debit balance 240, that we are not concerned with because we are not taking it into consideration. Long-term borrowings, 10% debentures having a floating charge on all assets, 2 lakh, right? So debentures are 10% and the amount is 2 lakh. Short-term borrowings, loan is given 90,000, trade payables is 4 lakh, interest accrued on floating charge on all assets, right? So debentures interest accrued is already given 10,000. So debentures plus outstanding interest 10,000, right? Plus additional if any given in the question. So this is on liability side. Asset side, as usual, all the things are given. Land and building is given, plant and machinery, furniture, current assets, so on and so forth. Cash balance is 60,000, right? So keep in mind on the liquidator statement, the very first thing will come your cash balance on the receipt side. Land and building is given, right? So on that date, a paragraph is given. The company went into liquidation on that date. Fine. The dividend on preference shares were in areas for last 2 years. Remember, students, so whenever you will pay to preference shareholders 2 lakh rupees, you need to pay 10% cumulative dividend for 2 continuous years, right? So 2 lakh into 10% into 2 years. So your dividend amount will be 40,000 that you need to pay, right? So when we will pay them. Assets realized were as follows. Okay. Interest accrued on loan on mortgage of building up to the date of payment amounted to 10,000, right? This is a new point which we have not seen in any of the sums till now, right? The loan which we saw, that is your borrowed loan, you are having, that is on short term borrowing 90,000, you are having a interest accrued on loan, that is mortgage on building, right? So what you will do is you will sell the building and you will pay the loan amount for that particular part. Fine. Okay. The next is liquidator is entitled to a remuneration of 3% on assets realized except cash and bank, right? So again, except cash and bank, you need to pay them the remuneration, right? Generally we do the total, but here it is, they have specifically said apart from cash and bank you need to pay them. Next is 2% on amount distributed among equity shares, right? So whatever amount is distributed among the equity share, you need to pay them. That is all. Fine. Preferential creditors included in sundry creditors amount to 30,000. So here the creditors which you are having of 4 lakh rupees, right? From that 4 lakh rupees, 30,000 is preferential creditors. So rest is, again we can say, your remaining creditors. Hope it's clear. All the payments were made on 30 June. What is our balance sheet date? 31st March 2017, right? It is paid on 30 June. That means after 3 months. So only effect will be on the debentures interest. You need to pay 3 months additional interest, right? I suppose it is clear to each and every student. Fine. So we'll be starting with the solution part one by one. We will be posting it. Fine. Hope everyone ready with the format. Fine. So starting with the very first thing, students, on the receipt side, we will always write the cash and the cash equivalent. Fine. So write down to cash 60,000 rupees. Right. I'll write down rather cash balance so that you come to know. To cash balance 60,000 rupees. Right. Hope it's clear to each and every student. 60,000 rupees. Next is, you always write down the assets which are realized. Fine. So write down to assets realized, to assets realized, right? So write down assets realized, whatever is given in the adjustments, we will just post this down with the new values, right? So you are having, apart from land and building, just leave the land and building right now because it is mortgage against the loan. So we'll see what to do with that. Fine. Apart from that, post every other thing, students. You have plant and machinery. Plant and machinery is 2,90,000 rupees. Furniture you are having 70,000. I am posting the same amount which is given in the adjustments. Inventories 1,20,000 rupees. Trade receivables 1,60,000 rupees, right? You can write down in the inner column also, then take it to outer column. I have directly written it here in the outer column, right? So for calculation, whenever such thing is there, you have to calculate remuneration on it. Always make a habit of writing it in inner column and then you can write down in outer column, right? It is nothing but a matter of presentation. That doesn't make any difference in the total. Fine. So what I have done is, students, I have written plant and machinery, I have written furniture, inventories, trade receivables, everything is there. Now what about land and building, students, right? They have specifically said, that is interest accrued on loan on mortgage or building up to the date of payment amounted to 10,000 rupees. Fine. So nothing is said that secured creditors. First of all, your loan and interest on loan is your secured creditors, right? You all must be agreeing with me. It is a kind of secured creditors because it is secured against land and building. Fine. So nothing is said. In earlier sums, we saw one point that secured creditors sold the following asset and the surplus was received. But here nothing is said. We are selling the asset and we are paying the money to them, right? So what I'll do is, I'll again write down the full amount here. Land and building, how much? 3,40,000 rupees, right? Many a times confusion arises in the minds of students that whether to write 340 or to write here 340 minus 90,000 the amount of loan minus 10,000 the amount of interest, right? So again that can also be done, but then if you write down 2,40,000 here, you have to write down 1,00,000, that is your again deducting from here, and you will not write down 1,00,000 secured creditors here, right? That is another point. We will see once we solve the sum, then I'll tell you the alternative also. Doesn't make any difference on the sum, fine. So what I have done is, students, I have directly written land and building also 3,40,000 here, fine. No other thing on your receipt side. We'll be starting with the payment side. The very first thing, as I told you, right? We had seen the entire chapter. What is the first thing you need to pay is your secured creditors, right? So by secured creditors, right? For you people, again I am writing that is loan. How much is loan? 90,000. 90,000 is given in the balance sheet, plus outstanding interest. You will say, from where, sir? It is in adjustment. The 10,000 is due up to the date of payment. So 10,000 I'll do it. What I have to pay is 1,00,000 rupees, right? I hope it is clear to each and every student. Fine. So what I was telling you, students, is One way is this, which I found to be easier for you people in order to calculate the liquidator's remuneration also. This way is easy, but if someone wants to show it differently, right, it is not an incorrect way, it is also correct. What you have to do is, instead of writing here 3,40,000, you can write down here directly 340 minus 1 lakh amount of loan plus interest, right? 1 lakh amount of loan plus interest, right? So what you people will do is, you will not write down this amount here, right? So 1 lakh will not be shown here, it will be directly deducted in 240, right? Logically, if you see, 340 minus 1 lakh is 240 itself. But this is a proper way of showing the presentation, because the remuneration will be paid on this total amount, right? I hope it is clear. So this is, I am putting just a star. This is only for your information. I am telling you the way you can select, but at the end your liquidator's remuneration should be correct. Fine. Hope it's clear. Fine. Moving on. Once you have paid secured creditors, then the sequence goes on by, you have to pay liquidation expenses, right? So by liquidation expenses given in the sum is 4,600. So liquidation expenses is 4,600 rupees. Hope it is clear to every student. Fine. So 4,600 rupees is the liquidation expenditure. Liquidators remuneration we pay the next. So by liquidators remuneration, two types of remuneration, dear students, you have to pay, right? So two type of remuneration, which are they? The very first is remuneration to be paid on assets realized except cash and bank. So how much is the remuneration? It is 3% on assets realized. 3% on assets realized, right? So how much is my assets realized? We will calculate it. Fine. So I am having in front of me plant and machinery 2,90,000 plus 70,000 is my furniture, plus 1,20,000 is my inventories, plus 1,60,000 is my trade receivable, plus I am having land and building, that is my 3,40,000, right? So what amount I am getting is 9,80,000. So 3% on 9,80,000 rupees gives me the answer of 29,400 rupees. So 29,400 rupees is my liquidator's remuneration on assets realized. Hope it's clear. Now for this point I was telling you students, if you could have considered year 240, right? So many students make a mistake of calculating the remuneration on 240 itself, right? So there is a difference in your liquidator's remuneration, and there the sums become incorrect, and your entire equity share capital will also come incorrect, right? So better do this practice of writing this whole here whenever you are selling the asset. Fine. Hope it's clear. Keep it simple. Write down here the full amount and show the secured creditors also here. Fine. Okay. So 3% on assets realized we have done. On the next part, you have to pay 2% on amount distributed to equity shareholder. 2% on equity, right? Right now we are not knowing how much amount will be distributed to equity, so I'll keep it blank just now. Fine. So here I am keeping it blank because I don't know how much amount to be paid to equity shareholder. Fine. The surplus we will see. Once you have paid to equity shareholders, students, right, what next you need to pay? You need to first pay the preferential creditors, right? I hope it is clear. So by preferential creditors, now students, how much is the preferential creditors, right? So in adjustment we saw one line that preferential creditors included in sundry creditors amount to 30,000. So by preferential creditors I can say the amount is 30,000 rupees. Preferential creditors amount is 30,000, right? After you pay to preferential creditors, you need to pay to debenture holders, right? So what we will do is by debenture holders, right? By debenture holders by debenture holders, right? What is the amount of debenture holders, students, right? So we'll be finding the total amount and then we will write down directly here. It is up to you whether to show it in working or either you can show it directly also as you are doing in the previous sum. Your debenture holders amount plus interest plus additional interest, right? So what we'll do is working note number 1, debentures. How much is my debenture, students? Debenture amount is your 2 lakh rupees plus interest outstanding given in the balance sheet, it is 10,000 plus additional interest, right? So how much is the additional interest to be paid on 2 lakh into 10% into the payments are made on 30th June, right? And your balance sheet date is 31st March. So there is a gap of 3 months, students, right? So again I will say that you have to pay 10% interest on 3 months. So 3 divided by 12 gives me the answer 5,000, right? So in all I need to pay them 2,15,000 rupees. Hope everyone agrees, right? It is clear to all of you. So what we'll do is we'll write down by debenture holders. In bracket I'll write down working note number 1 so that you come to know what is the amount which you have to pay. Fine. Is it clear? So what I'll do is I'll write down here 2,15,000. You can write down simultaneously also debentures 2 lakh plus interest 10,000 plus outstanding interest that is accrued for the period of additional time which is taken, that is 5,000, right? I hope it is clear till here to everyone, that is debenture holders. The next you will pay is now your unsecured creditors, right? So write down by unsecured creditors, by unsecured creditors. How much is there? As you can see in the balance sheet, trade payables is 4 lakh. But out of 4 lakh, we have already paid 30,000 preferential creditors, which is included. I am writing it here PC for your understanding. So 4 lakh minus 30,000, remaining unsecured creditors is 370, right? As such, no remuneration is to be paid on this amount. It doesn't make any significant difference, right? But the amount should be correct. Hope it is clear to each and every student, right? So 370 and 30,000 we have written. Now after paying to unsecured creditors, we always pay to the remaining shareholders, that is preference and equity shareholder, right? So we'll first pay to preference shareholders. Please write down by preference shareholders. By preference shareholders, in that you need to pay two things, right? When we discuss the sum we saw, first is preference shares. The amount is 2 lakh rupees plus outstanding dividend. Outstanding dividend also, students, it is for 2 years, right? So again, working note number 2, outstanding dividend on, show as much working as possible so that your sum is also complete and the checker can find every information which is asked in your sum, that you cannot directly fill up all the amounts, right? So outstanding dividend on preference shareholders, you are having 2 lakh into 10% into 2 years because it is outstanding for 2 continuous years, right? So my amount comes to 40,000 rupees. It is my outstanding dividend, right? So what I'll do is I'll write down 40,000. So total to be paid to preference shareholders is 2,40,000. Hope it is clear to each and every student, right? Now majority of the sum completes here, right? 90% sum is completed. The main thing here, the problem comes is when the shares are partly paid up and there is any deficiency or not, right? So what we'll do is like your last sum, we will first calculate the total of receipt, then we will deduct the total of your payment, right? I suppose it is clear to each and every student. Fine. So what I'll do is I'll first total up the receipt side. So my total of receipt side comes to 10,40,000 students, right? So what I'll do is I'll write down first the total of your receipt side, 10,40,000. Fine. So always when you do the total, come to the working for finding out the deficiency, right? So what I'll do is working note number 3, total of receipt side, 10,40,000, right? Better write down in working also so that you can simultaneously solve it. So 10,40,000 is the total of receipt side. Fine. Now we'll do the total of payment side up till your, again we can say, preference shareholders. Fine. So 1 lakh plus 4,600 plus 29,400 plus 30,000 equity remuneration we are not knowing, so skip that part. 2,15,000 plus 3,70,000 plus 2,40,000, right? So what you are getting is the total of 9,89,000 students, right? So write down total of payment side up to preference shares. So total of payment side up to preference shares comes to 9,89,000. This we will deduct, right? So 10,40,000 minus 9,89,000 gives me the surplus of 51,000 rupees. Gives me the surplus of 51,000 rupees, right? I hope it is clear to each and every student, right? Fine. So till previous sum, if anyone can find out the difference, right, in the last two sums which we did of University 2019, the difference was there was a deficiency even to pay to preference shareholders, right? That's why we used to call the amount. We used to calculate the capital amount of preference shares. We used to calculate the capital amount of equity share. Then we need to find out the deficiency and then we need to call the money either or return the money. Fine. But here students, it is again when we have calculated there is a surplus of 51,000. So ultimately any loss which is there or any surplus which is there after paying preference shareholders is to be borne purely by equity shareholders, right? So this 51,000 we will distribute it among equity shareholders. But the question arises, but if it was there, because at the time of discussion only I told you that face value is same but the paid up value is different, right? So the person who has paid more should be getting more money and the person who has paid less should be getting less money, right? So again, why we need to calculate it, I am writing it for here. Though the face value is same, remember this point, though the face value is same but paid up value is different. Though the face value is same but paid up value is different, right? So calculate the deficiency. So calculate the deficiency of shares, right? So how you will calculate it, right? So we'll be starting now. How much total amount is to be paid to the shareholders, right? So first of all, before paying it, right, 51,000 surplus which you are having, it is not only of equity shareholder. You need to pay remuneration also on it, fine. So remember the concept which you used to do in the short sum, remuneration of liquidator. How much remuneration is to be paid, students? It is your 2%, right? So 2% is to be paid. So 51,000 amount I can say is my 102. Why? 100 rupees to equity shareholders and 2 rupees to liquidators remuneration. So 51,000, if it is 102, how much 2 will be, right? So you can cross multiply this amount. So 51,000 into 2 divided by 102 gives me the amount of 1,000 rupees, right? So my students liquidator's remuneration is 1,000 rupees. Hope it is clear to each and every student. Fine. So before forgetting, I'll write down in the liquidator's remuneration, which I have put blank, 2% on equity, that is 51,000 into 102 divided by 2. So that will give me the amount of 1,000 rupees. So my again payment side is completed. Now I can say, students, the amount left for equity shareholders is only 50,000, right? So 1,000 is my liquidator's remuneration and 50,000 rupees is my equity. Is it clear? So 50,000 is equity. Now we can calculate the actual amount which is to be borne by the shareholders. Fine. Is it clear? Okay. So come to your working note number 4. Working note number 4. In that, the very first you are having is you need to find out how much is the total paid up capital, so that you can find out the deficiency. Total paid up capital. Total paid up capital, students, includes of both the shares. It is 1,50,000 plus 3,60,000, right? So my total paid up capital comes to 5,10,000. Hope everyone clear with that part, right? From where I found out, from balance sheet, 150 plus 360 gives me 5,10,000 rupees, right? From that, I am having a surplus of how much? 50,000. Now I am having only 50,000 rupees because I have found it out earlier, right? So how much is my deficiency? 510 minus 50,000 gives me the amount of 4,60,000. 4,60,000 is my deficiency. I hope it is clear to each and every student, right? So simply finding out loss per share or deficiency per share, right? So how we are gonna find it, students? Deficiency per share is equals to 4,60,000 rupees, right? This is the total deficiency. So how many total number of shares are there? Number I am seeing, right? So 20,000 equity shares plus 60,000. So it gives me 80,000 shares, right? So I can say 4,60,000 divided by 80,000 gives me the amount of 5.75 rupees per share loss. 5.75 rupees per share loss I am having, right? I hope it is clear to each and every student. Fine. Any doubts in that part, you can put it in Google Classroom. Fine. But I suppose it is very simple, very easy. We'll just again once more see it. What you have done is, students, you have find out the total of receipt side, you have find out the total of payment side up till preference share capital. Whatever find out is surplus, right? This surplus includes the remuneration of liquidator also, and it includes the payment to be done to equity shareholders also. Out of this, I calculated in the same way we calculated the amount in short sum. So I found out the that is your remuneration to the liquidator, that is 1,000 rupees, right? Out of that, I also found out the amount to be paid to equity shareholders. Fine. From that 50,000 rupees, the amount to be paid to equity shareholders is my surplus. So what I did is I found out total paid up capital, that is from balance sheet, whatever I have received from the shareholders, whatever I am having, that I deducted. So the surplus is my deficiency, right? So that deficiency per share I calculated 5.75 rupees. Is it clear, each and every student? Fine. Now the last step is directly come to the sum. You need to pay back the deficiency, right? How I come to know? Because the paid up value is more than the loss. My loss is 5.75 per share, and they have paid me 20,000 into 7.5 and 60,000 into 6 rupees, right? So more than your deficiency which you are having. So I'll write down by equity share. By equity share, first we will pay to the higher paid up value. By equity share, how much you need to pay them? You need to pay them 7.5 rupees that they have paid me, right? So 7.5 rupees minus loss 5.75 rupees into number of shares, that is 20,000, right? So just calculate it. 7.5 minus 5.75, that you need to calculate first. 1.75 into 20,000, so 35,000 you will return back to equity share. Suppose I name it A, right? Now the second type of equity share, by equity shares, say for example B, right? How much they had paid me? 6 rupees minus what is my deficiency? 5.75 rupees into number of shares 60,000. So 6 minus 5.75 into 60,000. So the remaining amount is 15,000, right? If you see students, the total stands to 50,000. The amount which we are having, I have distributed according to their paid up value. Is it clear? So again, this part is the most important, students, right? When you solve the sum, this is the most important part you need to see. On this, the entire sum is your based. Fine. This is the different part we saw from your last sum which we did. Fine. Hope it is clear to each and every student. Fine. Look it carefully, students. One more time. Do the sum at your home on your own so that you come to know what are the differences. There is nothing in this, right? Assets realize is nothing. The only important thing was this. In again the sequence, there is no other difficulty. Only thing comes is when your preference shareholders and your equity shareholders comes, right? Remember, students, the chapter is very easy. If you know the concept, if you know the again the sequence of payment and how to calculate it, it will be very easy. And we are doing all the university sums. Fine. Hope it is clear. So this was the again last sum for this chapter. Fine, I hope. Now there is no other new point in this chapter. We have done all type of sums. The all long sums which we have done, you need to practice it one more time. Fine, that is more than enough. Apart from that, like your costing, I'll also provide the practice questions for your corporate also very soon, so that you can solve that questions and you can get the answer for that part. Fine. Okay, so this is your VNSGU 2018. Again, this was your question number 9, I suppose, right? Question number 10. Question number 9 we solved in the last lecture of your revision part. Fine. Hope it's clear to each and every student. Practice it one more time. Any queries, any doubts, you can put it in Google Classroom. We are here to help you out, students. Fine. So this is Professor Shaurya Shah taking your leave. See you in the next lecture, students. Take care. Have a good day ahead. Practice more, study more. Thank you very much.